Welcome to the Practicing Accountant Podcast, your go-to resource for transforming your accounting practice. This podcast is for accountants ready to take control of their business and build their ideal practice by mastering the essentials, setting the right prices, defining a powerful niche, and selling with ease. We'll dive into strategies that boost profits, attract your ideal clients, elevate your services, and help you choose the most effective pricing models. We are champions for efficiency, value, and intentionality, and adversaries of people-pleasing, bad clients, and complacency. We provide actionable strategies to help you break the hamster wheel of typical accounting work. The mission of the Practicing Accountant Podcast is simple: to enhance your experience as an entrepreneurial accountant and help you turn neglected practices into a thriving business. So, if you're ready to level up your practice, this podcast is for you. Tune in and let's get to work.
So I have a quirk that I have to confess. It might gross you out, and anyone who listens to this. So my wife's Italian, and which is, a real blessing and a real curse. And, the blessings are she's just wonderful and awesome. And I love her. The curse is that she makes, a tremendous amount of amazing meals.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are Italian, sauce, pasta driven, and her sauce, her Italian sauce, her gravy, if you will, is fantastic. She spends an entire Sunday putting it together. But the quirk is I drink milk with my Italian food because it totally keeps my stomach at somewhat of a reasonable state, because otherwise I get heartburn and I just can't eat all of our wonderful food. So I'm the weirdo who drinks milk with my spaghetti.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's pretty common. No.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought I was one of the only ones that did that.
Well, it's either red wine or milk, I guess. What else would it be?
Water.
I
don't know. Yeah. Coke. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's weird. But she did, what did she do the other night? Well, last night she did meatballs and spaghetti, and I didn't have milk. And I didn't sleep well last night because my stomach was still processing all of that wonderful, lovely food she made. And tonight I don't think we're having that tonight. I think tonight's leftovers. That's good.
Yeah. That heartburn, that was nasty shit.
Yeah. It's no fun, especially when it hits you in the middle of the night. I got another thing. So an individual who I won't name here, but you and I both know of this individual. And let's just say this is one of those individuals who promises to get you down to 15 or 20 hours a week and still make all the money in the world, which I know there's some people out there who have gotten it figured out. And I know there's a lot of people who talk about having it figured out, but don't actually have any meat on that bone. But she posted on LinkedIn, and I'll read it. She wrote, "Who is your community for? I want to refer inquiries to the right folks, but I'm losing track of who has what." And then she lists off 6 different influencers, one of which is our buddy Jason Statz, also his coach or consultant Brandon Hall. She also throws in Ryan Lazanis, and she throws in the 15-hour CPA, and she throws in a couple of other individuals here. So when you post something like this, what are you trying to do? What is the trying to get people to tag and point to other influencers? What is this trying to do?
Engagement.
For the just trying to build comments?
Yeah, I would assume so, because everyone's going to chime in with their opinion.
Well, it's interesting because one of my buddies, who's a coach in California, and she also focuses on working with CPAs, and she's a sharp one. Mm-hmm. And she was the most recent response on this, and her response is, "Shudder, awesome clickbait though."
Yeah.
So nice. So is she kind of knocking this and saying, this is kind of a sloppy attempt at getting attention or trying to get likes or
for sure, yeah,
community?
Yeah. Yep, I would assume so.
She got 20 comments out of it, so not saying that's a huge number by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, she responds to every one of them. And the people that she had listed, a couple of them responded to it. I don't think this is something that Jason Stats. This is one of those ones where Jason Stats gets linked, and he's like, "Wait, who are you again?
Yeah.
Do I know you?" And same thing with Lozanis. Like, I think maybe I've heard of you. Anyway, moving on.
Interesting.
This influencer thing just kills me.
Yeah,
It drives me nuts.
It's kind of a lame game.
It's a strange game. It's just a. I mean, I get it, especially if it turns into profit for you. I get why it's important. If it drives business to you, that's great. I think you should do it. I talked to a CP the other day, and this individual is trying to grow her practice, and specifically business development around. It's pretty general. It's not too niched. I've got to work on that with her, but most of her marketing content all lives on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Posts daily, and all of it is in the CPA community. So responding to other CPAs who say something, or another accountant who has an idea or a software or a thought. And I asked, I was like, well, what kind of clients is that going to get you? And, the response is, well, none.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. But there are a lot of accountants now that are, posting on LinkedIn to one another, or piling on top of, Jason Stats or Ryan Lozanis or Blake or Chase or whoever. It's just it's an interesting, because accountants weren't doing this 5 years ago.
No.
Now they're all over the place.
LinkedIn to me just seems like a bunch of salesmen selling to each other, and no one's buying anything.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know.
And they're just kind of posting on top of each other, and they're waiting for someone else to post.
But nobody
post on top of that one.
No one in their target market is seeing that. I feel like
right. That's what
all their competitors are seeing it and arguing with each
Sure.
other, but no one in their market is actually seeing it. So maybe, I'm sure a little bit, but I just don't feel like, if you're a HVAC contractor, I don't feel like you're spending a ton of time on LinkedIn.
No.
Or
why?
Or pick any niche that an accountant might have. I don't think they're spending time on LinkedIn. I think it's accountants are talking to each other on there.
I think a lot of accountants are talking to each other right here. I think a lot of, I think they don't know where else to go.
Yeah.
Like LinkedIn to me is not, if it's as a CPA, and I am, and if I was out here trying to target oil and gas companies, I might post, like some information useful to someone in oil and gas, a change in accounting principle, or, something that's coming down the pike in the industry that I heard about and I want to share. And if I'm networked with a bunch of oil and gas folks, then, I can see how that would remind them I'm out there, and think of me maybe as being an expert in it.
Right.
However, most of them are going to be lawyers, accountants, some bankers, insurance guys, but not the oil and gas company.
Right. So it's great for network building.
It's great for network building, and it's great for finding the people that know my potential clients.
Sure.
It's a great tool for that.
Yep.
And that's the best way for an accountant to leverage LinkedIn, is to get an introduction to whoever it is they want to be introduced to.
Yep.
Or find out who knows who they want to know.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as spending, and the marketing folks, I mean, I don't know how many marketing folks are just making a killing off of, we'll help you build content on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn that, a lot of those clients just never, ever, ever see. But anyway, we're not here to solve the world's problems in social media today. But I am here today because you and I put together a kind of a white paper on value-based pricing, and we've spent the last couple of podcasts talking about how to calculate value-based pricing, which has evolved a few times since you and I first had that discussion, as we've refined it and retooled it and tried to make it less complex than we otherwise, because we could make it really complex.
Yeah.
Start adding in all kinds of different factors. And anyway, I shared this white paper and this discussion with one of my colleagues, another CPA who's used value-based pricing and is not a fan of it. And I thought it would be interesting to share her perspective today and kind of have a discussion around that. So value-based pricing, for for those who aren't in the know, is basically instead of pricing it on the hours it takes for you to do something and what your hourly fee is, instead you consider what the value of the benefit delivered to the client is, and then using some sort of formula, which we've provided before, arriving at an amount that you think a client would be willing to pay for the value that you provide. Great. My colleague pointed out that one of the difficulties, or one of the things that she struggled with value-based pricing, is constantly having to justify the value. And in a period of time where, that value has already been delivered, or the value you delivered in the past is now stale, that clients are coming back to her and saying, well, what are you going to do for me now? What have you done for me lately? Right.
That's a great conversation, especially around tax planning. I feel like tax planning is something that you set up. It's really heavy on the front end, and then you just implement and keep rolling with that. And so, yeah, proving that value year after year is going to be difficult if the client knows you're not putting in the same legwork.
Absolutely. And so I think that's something to keep in mind when you consider the benefits being delivered with value-based pricing, is to not pick something that's only going to happen one time ever. Because that client, and rightfully so, if you base your price off of that value, is going to expect a different price, or at least a different value, as you continue to work with them in another year or two. And so what she's done is she's moved from value-based pricing to memberships. And so she offers a menu of services for a certain price each month that a member, a client, will pay throughout the year. So I stopped to just ask, like, which one's better? Like based on, where this conversation currently sits, where do you feel, where would you align?
We do a combination. So our onboarding is a value-based price. Whatever the cleanup, we do a value-based price there. It's not hourly, it's value. But then our ongoing is a subscription. They subscribe to our portfolio of services. And I use portfolio intentionally because that's Ron Baker's word of what subscription is. It's pricing the portfolio, not pricing the customer. So we price, basically everything we can do is under that same weekly fee. We charge weekly, and they get that as long as they want to, and they can cancel it anytime. The difference, though, is ours is not a true subscription because we still layer a bit of value on that subscription price. I think the true definition of subscription is everybody coming to your firm pays that same price for that scope of services, whether it's one tier or 3 tiers. They would pay each customer would pay the same price. So we do a little bit hybrid version of that.
So let's use Netflix as an example. So Netflix is used to be, it was just, there's Netflix. Now there's like Netflix without any stuff, or you get some extra something the more you pay Netflix. And so let's say they've got a basic subscription to Netflix, and you know what it is every month, and you get access to all this stuff, but maybe there's some commercials, maybe there's some noise, you have to deal with something. And then there's another subscription price which is as pure as it comes, and you can access anything and everything. But if they come out with a new movie or something, or if they come out with new content, they don't charge you more.
Right.
You continue to pay the same price, even though you might be getting more value, more variety, some stuff that you really like has come out. You're getting more out of it. Maybe you find some shows you never watched before, then you're all of a sudden getting more value. It doesn't change the price.
Right.
So what I'm hearing you say is, at least in your firm, you do start with kind of those types of entry points, but then there's this hybrid, and you get some additional value. Is that right?
Yeah. Essentially, I think the difference with Netflix is they're pricing the portfolio, so their portfolio is ever growing. Their portfolio is the amount of movies, the amount of content on there, and if that weren't growing, they couldn't keep subscribers. With accounting, it's not quite the same. I struggle with the true subscription model in accounting because of that. You're not adding new services all the time, and expecting clients to be happy paying for that, because there's just not that many services that you can do in accounting.
Or maybe it's like, you get the same show, it's going to be Stranger Things, but you're going to get new episodes of it, but it's still going to be Stranger Things.
Fair. That's fair.
You're going to get accounting, and now you're going to get updated accounting.
Right.
Now you're going to get updated accounting, and you're going to get updated accounting. So, it's the same show. And if we decide to add a bunch of shows, you might adjust the price with those additional services, or at least make them available to a subscriber to say, hey, we've done some more things. We've added this. If you're interested, it's this much a month now, and otherwise you can stay at your old subscription. It's fine with us.
Yeah.
And that's what you would offer. Is that about right?
Yeah, I like that. It's a good analogy.
I think that's how it works. So which one? It feels to me like membership pricing is going to be less than value-based pricing. Like if you looked at a year of charging value-based services versus a year of membership, it feels like, and I haven't done enough math yet in my head to make this a true statement or not, but it feels like you have more opportunity for profit in the value-based than the membership.
Probably because there's more price discrimination. You can find those areas of profit for each client, but I think the argument on the other side would be, in a subscription, you aren't doing as many one-off things. Mm-hmm. You have to be doing this service for this type of client, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And not adding in things that are outside of your wheelhouse. Right. And so the profitability might be better because you're so efficient in those areas.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sold. I think there's a convenience to the membership pricing. Like there's a real simple, like, this is what it is. We bill you once a month, and you've got to keep track of what that client is receiving, and so that there's no over delivering or scope creep that you're not monitoring. But just thinking about the simplicity of, well, they're $1,000 a month, and so we charge them and we do what we say we're going to do, and that's all there is to it.
Yep.
And I think there's one piece of I've experienced, and you probably have too. When you first start with a new client, and let's say, they pick the controller plan, and so they're getting, closed books and at least financials, and they're charging $1,000 a month. The first month you work with that client, it's going to be a nightmare. You're going to have to try to figure everything out, get it all incorporated. Yep. You might charge a onboarding fee. Mm-hmm. And then the second month you'll get better. The third month you'll be better. Fourth month you'll be better. By the fifth or sixth month, that $1,000, which you may not have really profited on a bunch in the front end, you're now, you've got a science to it. You're doing it in a couple of hours. They don't care because they don't know, or they don't see it. They're still getting what they thought they were going to get, so they're happy. And you're able to bring in more clients doing that work, and making more on it as you move through that membership.
Right. Like the other benefit for subscription is the price transparency. I think people are used to, in a subscription model at least, or everything they buy, seeing the price before they buy it. Professional services is a weird thing where, especially in the hourly billing scenario, you have no idea what this is going to cost. The value billing, you probably get, an upfront proposal, but in subscription, you can see that pretty much immediately, and that's a huge win for lead conversion, I think.
There was a post that you sent to me earlier this week, and I thought I think it's kind of on point. The post was something between Blake Oliver, our favorite guy to talk about, and someone else who I don't know him. Maybe he's just someone who pays attention to him. I don't know if I don't know what he does. But Blake stated, the billable hour model is a barrier to AI adoption in accounting firms. You can't innovate when your revenue model punishes efficiency. Fixed fees aren't just pricing, they're permission to evolve.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah. I think that what he's saying is if, the only way you can really make money is by billing hours, and AI comes in and cuts those hours, then you're going to immediately, and we've talked about this before, you and I, it's going to have a negative impact to revenue instantly.
Right.
And which some might say, well, it opens you for capacity for more. Well, maybe if they had more, but so he has a good point. And then this gentleman responds with, you very much misunderstand how billing works in the hours model. And Blake was polite enough to say, educate me, which I thought was actually a pretty polite response. And Tyler responds with billing rate times hours, which, is,
Right.
we know. But then he says firms can and do raise billing rates when they get more productive.
Yeah. Fair. That's a fair argument.
It's fair. And, if they are able to save 15 hours because they're using AI, is a firm actually going to adjust its billing rate either in totality or on that engagement to compensate for the time they didn't spend on it?
Well, then you're just value billing. You're just trying to hit a target.
Right. And then you're coming back to just trying to hit a number,
right?
Regardless of the hours. And so it almost feels like, in a sense, and this is what I opened up to in this little conversation we watched. Billing rate can be a value-based billing rate. Mm-hmm. If you're considering that your time includes your time plus AI efficiencies plus the value that the client perceives for the time you're spending, or at least the product you're creating with the time you spend, then there's a possibility that, for a value-based billing rate. And whether that's something that needs to be explored further.
But then why track time? If you're going after a target, what's the point of tracking time? That's just
right.
The amount of time that you and your staff is going to spend on calculating that and adding that up and billing every 6 minutes. Like, the hell are you doing? Just, if you have a target in your mind, just bill that target.
Which is what brings us back to value-based.
Yeah.
Full circle. And Blake mentions fixed fees in his response here, but at the end of the day, it's the value-based pricing model. And that's what's going to allow us to continue to bill whatever we bill, regardless of how much time we save, because we're using AI, regardless of how efficient we are or how long it takes. If it takes 15 minutes, it's still worth thousands of dollars,
right?
Because of the value that the client receives for what we deliver.
Right.
And so that's where I look at the membership model and ask, what happens to the membership model when efficiencies creep in? And is the membership model still a value-based model, but just doesn't use value-based approach?
Well, I think you're well set up if you're on the membership model, because your pricing is set and your efficiencies go way up, so your capacity opens up, and your time to complete those projects goes way down. So similar to value basing, I think you're set. Yeah, I think I don't really care between value based and subscription. I just think there's no use for hourly. It just doesn't make sense. And there's people smarter than you and I that talk about pricing. Ron Baker, as we mentioned, and Ed Kless, and all these pricing experts out there. They argue for days. And Ron Baker wrote a book about moving the accounting profession to the subscription realm.
Time's up. Yeah,
he literally wrote the book on it, so to speak. So there's people better at that. But I don't think. I think that's too nuanced for most accounting firms. I think just getting away from the hourly model is the biggest step they have to take in uncoupling time for money.
Yeah, because even with that adjusted billing rate, that value-based billing rate, it's still just not a very good one, but it's still just an attempt to step away from that hourly, because we're just trying to get that rate up to, again, a number.
Right.
That doesn't matter how long you spend doing it; it's still the number.
Right.
So why does it matter?
And why are you worried about timesheets? That just makes your timesheets totally bullshit.
Right.
But
I do like the point here in the urgency in which we need to consider getting away from the hour, because things will continue, and probably dramatically so, get more efficient.
Yep.
And so there are a lot of people, out of the 16,000 firms that are below, say, 10 individuals, what percentage of those are still using hourly billing? I would imagine it's at least half. I would love to have the science behind it to say what it is, but I'm going to just go ahead and say it's at least half. And that is a lot of folks that are going to have to move into a different realm, as AI, as innovation, as they get more efficient, just period, with the work they're doing. Otherwise, they won't make the money that they're trying to make, or they'll find themselves making less this year than last year, and they did it in a lot quicker. But that's what happens.
Yep. I saw a post in a neighborhood group the other day. Someone said, I'm looking for a new accountant. She's retiring. She charged $150 for my return. And it's like, oh, and there's people like this still out there charging that much. And I feel like there's two halves of the accounting industry. There's the people that charge hourly and this super low rates, commoditizing everything. Then everyone else trying to build this valuable professional service, and they're combating each other. And until we get rid of all these jackasses charging $150 for a return, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Well, it's you're right though. I mean, there's a lot of folks that are cannibalizing, this industry, and driving price down, getting down to the bottom, helping people believe that it's only worth $150 for something that truly is worth a lot more than that.
Yep.
And that is our own fault. We got ourselves here. The good idea, or the good news, is that there's a lot of folks that are starting to steer this in a much different direction. We've got more focus on the billable hour than we've had, as far as I'm aware, ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a big deal right now that we're paying attention to these things that have really plagued our industry, and it's going in a positive direction. So whether it's value-based or membership, it's just not by the hour. That is where we come together strongly and firmly, that we have to start moving away from that because of all that's coming, as well as all that's already here.
Yep. I'm okay with that. Just get away from the hourly. Can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this conversation today is just, I think, maybe a wrap up to our 3-part series on value-based pricing, and really coming together to point out there are other models. They are worth checking out. At the end of the day, whatever's best for your firm is up to you. And our intention, our hope, is that the creativity and the intention to get out of the hourly billing is something that we hope that anyone listening is taking a step in the direction of.
Yep.
Oh, and on the point of value-based pricing, we've talked, like I said, the last few weeks about it. So we have a white paper that we've produced about value-based pricing, and kind of summarize our conversation over the last 3 weeks, and some ideas on that we've shared about how to calculate value-based pricing, like how to actually come up with a number and a process behind it, as well as some ideas of ways in which you deliver value over just your hourly rate. We're going to make that available to you. So if you we'll include a link here with this podcast. That link is going to be www.thepracticingaccountant.com/VB, B as in boy, P as in Paul. So again, www.thepracticingaccountant.com/VBP.
As in value-based pricing.
As in value-based pricing. I guess it's better than boy and Paul. And we hope you download it. It's free, and hopefully something that you'll find helpful in your own pursuits.
Absolutely. I'll put that in the show notes, that link.
Awesome.
And awesome, Doug. Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.